Lessons learned. I'm Sherry. This is your Wednesday video. Today we're having another, yes, yet another scrap/stash busting video project here for 2025. This is number 12. So if you're looking for stash busting, scrap busting ideas, check out the other videos that I put out this year. There's 11 other ones. So this is number 12. I don't know if it'll be the last one, but probably not. There will probably be more. But after chatting with some friends and trying to think of a quick way to use 3 charm packs, this is what I came up with. So I happen to have, it's not completely normal to have 3 of the same charm pack, but if you have a Sew Sampler box, sometimes they'll send you 3 in one of the monthly boxes, or if you just love charm packs and you happen to have 3 of the same one, this is the project for you. Now there's a way to use 93 out of these. There's I think 126 altogether, but I'm going to use 93 of mine. I'm going to show you, first of all, the fabric choices that I have. I have these 3 layer cakes. This is called the Joy in the Journey, and it has a camping theme to it. It's kind of girly, and it has a lot of really cute prints. So this will spread out really well in amongst the squares. Once you disperse them kind of evenly throughout. Not a whole lot of brain work on that though. This is a Riley Blake by Danny Mogstad. So you may have this one in your stash, or if you have a layer cake, cut your layer cake up into 5-inch squares and you'll have plenty for this project. Or you can use scraps. If you've got 5-inch scraps that need to be whittled down, then just use 5-inch scraps and make it a scrappy quilt. So scrappy or stash busting is what this will be. I'm sure you have something in your stash that will accommodate this pattern. So worst comes to worst, just take some yardage and cut some 5-inch strips and cut out 93 of those for 3 sections, or 125 rather, for 4 sections. Now a 3-section quilt, I've only made 1 section here because it will just be repeated. It will turn out to be, I believe, and we'll check this, 50 inches wide by 64.5 inches long. So it would make a nice size quilt for on the floor for a baby, or for a toddler, or for a wall hanging. So that's what I'm going to make. That's going to be 3 of these sections. Or your 4-section one will be 50 by 80, which is kind of a narrow-ish quilt. But if you want to follow these measurements that I have planned out here, you can make a 50 by 80 with this. So if you got a tall, skinny person, they may like a size like that, or it's a pretty decent throw size too. So let's just go with this. You don't have to cut your 5-inch squares except for 1 per section. You will cut right in half. 1 square right in half for each section. The rest of them will be whole squares. So I'm not going to trim mine. I'm not going to trim the pinked edges off because I don't want to lose my full 5 inches. Plus, I don't want to do that work today. So I'm just going to sew them together. Now, for your other fabric that you would probably call your background fabric, you don't need too much really. Probably for this quilt, you could get by with, I would say, a yard or yard and a half, and that's going to depend on what you do with your outer borders, if you want any. But for now, all we're doing is some little 2.5 by 5-inch pieces. So I'll have to do that cutting, and then cut those down to 5 inches, and then I will have a strip going across that's also 2.5 underneath the section. Now on your bottom section, if you decide to do 3 or 4, you're going to want to leave off this here. And you're not going to put one on the top either. So we'll save that border idea for later. We may want to make it a little wider, or we may not want a border around it, or you may want some other fabric to use for a border. Either way, just leave off the top and the bottom of your last section. Just do the interior sashings. So you'll have 2 if you have 3 sections. You'll have 3 if you have 4 sections. And I know we're kind of imagining here. I didn't draw the entire thing out. So the first thing I need to do is cut 4 strips with the fabric 2.5 inch wide for these blocks. I'm going to do that first and wait on this to make sure that my width really is 50 before I cut this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those, sew it together, and then recheck my measurement here. Okay, so as for these, all I have to do is open them and start sewing together. And I will get back with you in the next clip on that. But first I want to show you that this is a Moda Grunge. And this is the same pink that I used for the Twizzle project here a while back. I still have lots of yardage from that. I think I had a 5-yard piece and I just used a minimal amount on that project. So I have plenty of this. I may even have enough for the backing. So here are my 4 strips. I have 2. I have them layered. There's 2 here and 2 here. That's my 2.5 inch strip, and then I need to cut 5 inch pieces. So you want to be able to get, with your ruler, take your selvages off, and then the ends. And I think I've got this end just a little bit too. I think I did a 6 inch instead of a 5. I got a little excited because I wasn't going to have much waste, but I do have this much waste on this side. And then I will have, I believe, 2 or 3 extra in my first section with just these 2 strips. So, or 4 strips. So I have 4 times 2, 4, 6, 8. I have 32 here. I think I used 30 or 31. 30, I believe. So this is what we need to cut. And I would suggest not layering more than 2 strips on each other to make sure you get accurate cutting. You can always do them single. I could have done it single with this ruler right here and just laid my 4 strips out. It would have fit on here, I believe. 2.5, 2.5 times 4 is 8. Yeah, it would have been 10 inches. So that would have worked out just fine. So I have everything ready for my first section that I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to open my charm pack, and I'm just going to kind of mix these up a little bit so that I don't have to think about, this is so cute, I don't have to think about how to place these. So they're kind of in groupings by color, and I think I want to pull these out and kind of get the lights, darks, and mediums out and just mix them up a little bit. So I think I want to just kind of throw in a dark in between these lights and mediums. There's not really too many lights in here. I mean, yeah, there's not too many lights in here. That's what I meant to say. So I think if I just mix in my darks in between all the light and mediums, it's going to be pretty well spaced out. I'm not putting a lot of effort into this, just kind of making sure there's not 2 together. Just takes a couple minutes and it's worth it in the end. There we go. So I'll do that for my first section, and now I can go ahead and get started sewing these up. All I have to do is take out one of these. I'll take this one out and cut it in half. And that will be on the ends of two of my strips. So this one needs to be over here. I'll go ahead and sew those on to two of these strips, and then the rest of these will go on the right hand side. So all you have to do is just sew these on the right hand side of all of these. And then you'll have another opportunity to mix up your prints if you need to after we get these done. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the sewing machine and just chain piece all of these. So I'm doing some careful measuring here as I'm getting started to put these together, and I'm making sure that my square is being sewn according to where the notches are. That's the only bad thing about using the full square from the pre-cut, because of the pinked edges. I really wish the pre-cut fabric industry would do something about this, but some of them, you know, you need to be in the middle of the pinking area, some right next to the bottom, some all the way out to the tip. So I've just done, oh, I would say 10 or so here, and I'm getting all kinds of different measurements. Not really significant. Probably won't come out to bother your rows too much as far as putting them together and making the corners match and all. But I'm just deciding right now, since I can't stop and measure every single one of these, that just wouldn't be practical. I'm just going to go in the middle of my pinked edges. Now your charm packs may be totally different, so be sure and measure yours and see if they're consistent. If they're consistent, the lower end or the outer end, stick with which one is correct. If you have to go somewhere in the middle, whatever. I'm just going to go somewhere in the middle, and if I have to make adjustments in my rows, I will. But just a word of caution on pre-cut pinked edges. So here I go. Okay, I'm down to the last of my pink strip that I added. I have 10 squares left. So you can, if you want, go ahead and make yours wider. You can get it at least another 5-inch square wider with these. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 2, because you will have that one that's cut. So if you want to do the math, you can make yours wider and use these. I'm just going to hold these over to use with my next grouping out of my second charm pack and continue on, because I haven't used some of these colors yet. So that's another thing. If you want to count out your 32 first that you're going to need for your first section and not leave out, you know, you can take out some of those duplicates and be able to use all of your prints in there. I should have done that. I don't know why I didn't, but when I got to the end of my squares here, I was like, oh yeah, I have 10 that I have to pull out. So keep that in mind as well. That's why it's important to watch the whole video before you start sewing and cutting. But yeah, so now I'm going to go ahead and take this off and cut these apart and start laying them out for rows. Let's recap. You need 30 of these that look like this. 30. You have 2 that look like this. And then you need 2 more of these for, I'll show you this end right here. You have 2 that are going to start the row 1 and row 3. So at the end of this video, and then also in the description box, I will put the correct number of strips for the entire project that I made with 3 of these sections. All of these can be pressed towards the pink side. Just press all of your seams towards the pink. If you want to open them, go ahead. I probably normally would, but for the sake of time, I'm going to do this real quick like this. Okay, back over here for row 1, we're going to start sewing. Your first piece should be this for rows 1 and 3. Only rows 1 and 3 do you start with one of these. And then you just start adding. And you will put on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll put on 7 of these. And then when you get to the end, you'll pick up one of your partial ones and put that on the end. It will end with the print. So only on rows 1 and 3. On rows 2 and 4, they will be whole units like this. And you will start with a print and go forward. So I will stop and show you that when I get through. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out 7 of these. 1, 2. Now I'm starting to want to mix up a little more. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How about that? And then I will pick one of these for the end. And just turn it over and start sewing these together. So the first thing I need to do is put that one piece on the end. This is the far left. Put it next to your print, right sides together, and sew that one. Now you can chain piece these down if you want. Just do pairs and then come back and do your whole pieces. 2s, then 4s, 6, and so on. I'm just going to stop on each one to make sure that I have it right side up, because I like all of my little figures that's in here to be right side up. I don't want them upside down, so I'm going to stop on each one. It's going to take me a little longer, but that's just my preference. I just don't want to mess that up. Okay, so now I'm ready for my last piece. So this one, the print piece, goes on the very outside. Okay, it turns out that I made a mistake. I didn't need to sew a half piece of the pink to it. I just needed those pieces. So I'm going to have to unsew all of those that I did for the following sections. Real-time sewing here. So I only need this to go to the end. I got to the end of my 7 units and I'm like, I can't put a pink beside a pink. So really I just need this. I just looked at it wrong on the diagram. So, oh well, we just need the one little piece of print. And I'll have this row done. There we go. That's more like it. So I'm going to go ahead and press towards the pink on all of these. So all of your seams will be towards the pink on both sides. I'm going to hang this up on my design wall. And as I do my row 2, I'm going to watch my prints and see that I don't have one touching another that's the same. You could go ahead and make your third row if you wanted, if the prints aren't an issue for you. So I'm just going to do it this way so that I don't have anything touching that's the same. So row 2 is way different. Well, it's not way different, but you see here, you just take your units and you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those. And that's your row 2. No funny business on the ends on those two, on rows 2 and 4. Here I am at the end of row 2, doubting my ability to teach you how to do this. This does not need to be here. This needs to end with a full piece of print. So I'm going to have to unsew this little piece. So that means that you don't need as many of these units. As I originally said, you need 2 less per row, per even row, or per section I should say. You need 2 less of these units per section and just use 1 plain square. All of this stuff gets found out once you start sewing. But it's not the end of the world. It's not like taking out a whole row or anything, but I am going to have to unsew that, and then my second row is finished. Next time you see me, I will have all 4 rows of that section, as well as the correct measurement for the sashing piece that goes on the bottom of this section. Okay folks, here's what's transpired in the last little bit. This is not sewn together, it's just 4 separate rows. And you can see right off the bat that I didn't do very good with arranging some of my blocks. Some of them are stacked doubles on top of each other. I'm not sweating that. That I can deal with. Here's what the real issue is. When we go to put these little sections on the sides, we need to cut them more than half of a charm square, or 2.5. We need to cut them 2 3/4. So those little partial pieces on the odd rows on the end need to be 2 3/4. Not these. These can be 2.5 still. But this needs to be 2 3/4. So if you are using 3 charm packs to make a 4-section quilt, I don't think it's going to quite make it for that size. But if you wanted to use more of your charm packs, just add in another unit, another one of these units here, to make it longer, or wider I should say. It'll be more of a square quilt by the time you do that. But if you want the rectangular one like I'm making, just stick with how many squares I'm using. On the odd rows, that's 8 of those units. Not the odd rows, the even rows, 8 units. On the odd rows, it's 7 and roughly 1/2 of a unit. So that's where we are. So I'm going to go ahead and take those 2 end ones off and cut from my extras to get 2 3/4 ones to add on the row 1 and row 3. Then I'll make a good measurement, sew this up, make a good measurement of what that strip, sashing strip horizontal, should be on the bottom of this section for you. Just as a tip, you want to pin your 2 rows together where those 2 pinks are supposed to line up. So stick your pins there, and that'll be plenty of pinning for this. And plus you'll have a chance to really make sure that those 2 seams will nest up to each other, because they will. Okay, I'm going to get to sewing these rows together. Put the lower sashing on across, and we'll be done with our first section. I'm regretting a little bit the pink that I chose. I think it might be too rosy, because look, that's so peach right there. I should have used that pretty peach Riley Blake confetti solid I just got. But it's done now, so be it. It'll be fine. This is awfully rosy, I think, and it kind of matches that one really well. I don't know, when I did not have them out of the plastic against this pink, I thought it was perfect, but now that I'm putting it together, I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, this strip that I'm getting ready to put on the bottom, I cut 2.5 inch width of fabric strips, and then cut that strip down to 50 inches. So this should be 50 inches, and it will exactly fit your top section. I pressed these 3 long seams open, but I'm going to press this one towards the sashing. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I think it's because these are in towards the sashing. I don't know why I'm doing that, but that's what I'm going to do. Then we'll be done. Okay, my first section is finished. She turned out okay. And the pink is not too bad. I regret that some of my squares are sitting on top of each other, but it's fine. I can deal with that. Maybe I'll repeat that down below somewhere so that it looks cohesive. Either way, if you have a couple of charm packs, 3 charm packs to be exact, you'll be able to make this quilt. Not that just this section here, but we're making 2 more sections that look like this, with the exception of the bottom section won't have the sashing across, and we'll be putting some border around this as well. So come back on Finish It Friday to see the finished version of this cute little quilt and a way to smash a few charm packs out of your stash. Alright, have fun, and check the description box for the most accurate and up-to-date measurements, because I had a few changes along the way. Thanks so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.